The air in the San Diego County Courthouse was heavy, charged with anticipation. Spectators packed the gallery, their whispers buzzing like static. At the defendant's table stood a young man who looked out of place, his hands tucked into the pockets of a worn hoodie. Ethan Carter, just 19, faced charges of grand theft auto and resisting arrest. To the onlookers, he was just another kid in trouble. But Judge Harold Bennett, perched on his bench, saw something else: he had a chance to wrap this case up quickly and get to his evening poker game. His lips curled into a smirk as he peered over his glasses. "You think you're some kind of lawyer's son?" he drawled, his voice dripping with mockery. The room chuckled, the bailiff and stenographer joining in. Ethan didn't laugh. He wasn't here to play their game. Judge Bennett leaned back, tapping his pen against the desk. To him, Ethan was a stereotype: young, reckless, guilty before proven innocent. The prosecutor, Victor Ramsey, rose with a polished grin, his suit impeccable. "Your Honor, the state will prove Ethan Carter stole a 2023 BMW X5, caught red-handed after a high-speed chase through downtown. His fingerprints were on the steering wheel. The evidence is ironclad." The gallery murmured, heads nodding. It sounded open and shut. But Ethan stood still, his sharp eyes scanning the room. He'd grown up in a modest neighborhood, raised by his mother, Clara, a court clerk who brought home stories of sloppy prosecutors and biased judges. While other teens chased trends, Ethan studied law books, memorizing cases and practicing arguments in his bedroom mirror. He was ready for this. Bennett sighed, glancing at his watch. "Let's keep this moving." The crowd tittered, but Ethan's lips twitched into a faint smile. The judge had just made his first mistake underestimating him. Ramsey strutted toward the jury, his voice booming. The defendant fled from police, a clear sign of guilt. Officer Paul Thompson saw him behind the wheel before he bolted. The words landed hard, and the jury shifted, some already convinced. Bennett nodded, barely listening. "Sounds straightforward," he muttered. Ethan's public defender, Sarah Collins, stood nervously, but Ethan gently touched her arm. "I'll represent myself, Your Honor," he said, his voice steady. The room froze. Ramsey snorted, and Bennett raised an eyebrow, amused. "You sure about that, kid?" Ethan nodded. "Positive." The gallery buzzed, but Ethan let the silence linger, his presence commanding attention. He stepped forward, hands now out of his pockets. "Your Honor, I'd like to clarify something with the prosecution." Ramsey crossed his arms, smirking. "Go ahead." Ethan's tone was calm, but razor-sharp. "You said Officer Thompson saw me driving the BMW, correct?" Ramsey nodded, impatient. "That's in his report." Ethan turned to Bennett. "I move to dismiss that testimony. Officer Thompson wasn't on duty during the chase." Gasps rippled through the crowd. Ramsey's smirk faltered. "That's absurd," he snapped. Ethan pressed on. "If the court permits, I request Officer Thompson's GPS logs from that night. They'll show he wasn't there." The room erupted in whispers. Bennett frowned, glancing at Ramsey, who hesitated a fatal pause. The jury noticed, and so did the judge. Ramsey scrambled, his voice louder now. "Your Honor, the defendant's fingerprints were on the steering wheel. That's undeniable." Ethan nodded, unfazed. "Let's talk about that." He faced the jury, his gaze locking onto each member. "The prosecution says my fingerprints prove I stole the car. But let's say you test drive a car at a dealership, touch the wheel, then leave. If that car is stolen later, are you the thief?" A juror blinked, another leaned forward. Ethan continued. "That BMW was parked outside a gas station hours before the theft. I was there with friends, buying snacks. I leaned against the car, touched the handlight was unlocked. Dumb move? Sure. Criminal? No." The gallery stirred, some nodding. Ramsey flipped through his notes, sweat beading on his forehead. Ethan wasn't done. "Your Honor, was the forensic expert who analyzed those fingerprints called to testify?" Bennett blinked, caught off guard. Ramsey stammered. "No," but Ethan cut in. "So the state's using evidence to convict me without letting me question the expert? No chain of custody, no cross-examination." The room went quiet. Bennett rubbed his temple, his easy wind slipping away. Ethan took a breath, then dropped the bombshell. "Your Honor, I'd like to submit a statement from the car's owner, Mr. James Larson." Bennett squinted. "The owner?" Ethan nodded. "Yes. Mr. Larson told police the thief was a white teenager. I'm black." The courtroom gasped. Ethan held up a transcript. "This is from the original police report, ignored by the prosecution. Larson said, I left the car running at the gas station. A kid jumped in, but it wasn't the guy you arrested. Ramsey lunged forward. This is irrelevant. The defendant was caught. Ethan shook his head. I wasn't caught in the car. I was arrested blocks away, walking home with friends. I wasn't running, wasn't near the BMW. The only evidence is a bad assumption by police who saw a black kid nearby and called it a day. The jury's eyes widened. Bennett exhaled, his face tight. The case was crumbling. Ethan turned to the jury, his voice firm. The real thief got away. Officers pinned this on me because I fit a profile, not the evidence. Silence fell, heavy and uncomfortable. Bennett cleared his throat. Does the prosecution have anything further? Ramsey, red-faced, muttered, No, Your Honor. Bennett stared at Ethan, then the jury. After a long pause, he spoke. Case dismissed. The room exploded, some in shock, others in relief. Reporters scribbled furiously, and the gallery buzzed. Ethan stood still, letting the moment sink in. Bennett, gripping his gavel, met Ethan's gaze. Mr. Carter, he said, his voice softer, consider law school. Ethan smirked. He was already planning it. As he walked out, reporters swarmed, cameras flashing. Ethan, did you expect to win? What's next? He pulled his hoodie up, ignoring them. This wasn't about fame, it was about justice. Outside, Clara waited, her arms crossed. She shook her head, a mix of pride and exasperation. You scare me to death, Ethan. He grinned. Had to take the shot, Mom. She hugged him tightly, whispering, You're gonna change things. Across the street, Bennett watched from his car, his arrogance gone. He'd expected a routine case, but Ethan had exposed the system's flaws, bias, shortcuts, and all. This wasn't just one kid's victory. It was a wake-up call. How many others had been railroaded by a system that valued speed over truth? Ethan knew his path now. The next time he stood in a courtroom, he'd be the lawyer, fighting for those who couldn't fight back. This case wasn't just about Ethan Carter. It was about a system that too often fails the innocent. Share your thoughts below. Have you seen injustice like this? What does it say about violence and fairness in our world? Take a stand, voice your view, and let's keep this conversation alive.